Keg, why can we not take Ryan anywhere?
He's a nightmare.
He is a nightmare,
He
isn't
is
he?
an absolute...
Would
you like to show people what he's
We
just
bring
done?
him to our favourite office.
I know. Even Dave is just...
Even Dave is like, come on, Dave. Yeah, he's shaking his head, going, we can't take Ryan anywhere.
Nowhere.
Why can we not take Ryan anywhere?
I accidentally dropped my glass and I caught it, but only as soon as it hit the table. And now I have a weapon.
Welcome to Haunted Horizons GhostCast, where your hosts, Alison Oborn and Cag Allwood, will share their experiences in some of the most terrifying and haunted locations in Australia and overseas. So turn the lights off, relax, and enjoy. So somewhere in that window, the boys arrived. Yay! So the boys have arrived. They're not looking. They're not looking. There they are. Alright. Hello! Hello!
Prime positioning right here on the corner.
For you to get on film. And they're here. Hello.
Hello.
Here we are again. Well, what was that male voice? I haven't introduced anybody yet.
I know.
They just jump in,
I know,
don't
they
they?
just jump in.
This, you just start doing a podcast, Keg and Ali,
I know.
and suddenly somebody from nowhere just jumps in and says hello as well.
Exactly. It's just rude.
So this is a very special podcast. And you might notice we've got guests in the studio. So we still have Paranormal Quest with us. Yay!
Woo!
Hey. Hello.
Yay. So we've still got Dave and Ryan here.
Dave, can
they
that be a
haven't
bit more
buggered off home
enthusiastic?
yet.
Huh?
And a bit more enthusiastic, please.
Yay!
Better, thank you. It was a bit like
It's a bit sad, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's been 3 weeks now.
3.5.
3.5 weeks, and they're still here.
No.
We haven't got rid of them yet.
Much to your dismay, we are still here.
So, but they are leaving tomorrow. They are going on a plane.
Sorry. Can you just pause?
All right, I'm pausing.
Yes! Oh, good. I'm fine now.
They're leaving tomorrow.
We are.
And we thought we'd do a wind-up, didn't we?
Well, they've been winding us up for the whole 3.5
Well, they
weeks.
have
So we thought
really,
we may as well
haven't
do
they?
a finish
Yeah.
off.
In fact, I think they're winding up the whole of
I
Australia
think they're winding up the whole of Australia.
because of their curse.
There's a curse?
There's a curse. And
There's
we
a
will get
curse.
onto the curse soon.
Yes.
We will.
Maybe at the end.
Yeah, we'll talk about the curse, because we told you guys when we got here, we said that there is a PQ curse, and you didn't believe us, but...
But we do now.
Oh, yes.
The final straw is this morning. We'll get into that soon as well. There has been deaths. There has been plagues, famine,
Power cuts, storms.
Destruction.
destruction, dead things.
It's no joke.
They're happy.
It's real.
It's what happens around them.
It is.
So, anyway, we thought we'd come on, and they've been here for 3.5 weeks. And we
Yeah.
thought we'd come on and just do a recap of what have we been up to and how they found Australia, and also some of the places we've taken them to investigate, and how they found those places and anything we've had happen. Mm-hmm. So Ryan and Dave,
Yes.
you have experienced Australia for 3.5 weeks. How have you found it?
It's been lovely. I mean, from what we can see, because you've told us over and over again, and Amy has told us over and over again, that you have no idea why Australia is the way it is right now, because it's not normally like this, but we'll get into that at the end of the podcast. But it's been lovely. I mean, it's been a little bit chilly, which is weird for November, I hear, but it's been a little chilly, a little rainy, but the places that we've seen, the things that we've done, the things that you've shown us have been so amazing, fantastic, historical, and haunted. And we're going to have so many stories to tell to everyone back in America when we get home. and we're going to have so many stories to tell through the YouTube videos that we're going to be able to put out from this trip.
And you've already put one of them out.
Yes, we did. Yeah, that was a couple days ago. We did Kilmore Jail, the first of 6 or 7 that we're going to put out from this particular trip. So,
well, why don't we start with Kilmore? How did you find Kilmore?
Well, they got in the car with you to
Well,
start
they
off
did,
with.
because I
You
took them there. Yeah, I
yeah.
suppose that's how they found it.
Yeah, it is.
They
Yeah.
kind of dropped them out the car.
it was weird. We got in the back seat and all of a sudden Dave disappeared, and then... Yeah, Dave, how did you find Kilmore?
Oh, it was fantastic. You know, the night just flew by. It was insane.
It's like you don't even remember being there.
It's like I wasn't even there.
Well, this is true. Let's choose one that Dave didn't make it to.
Yes.
Poor Dave had a
Dave.
migraine. I know what that's like. So Dave was suffering. We left him behind, didn't we?
We
Yes.
did.
We did, bless
Yeah,
him.
Yeah.
bless.
But Kilmore was a very unique location because it was a jail for about 30-some years, from the 1850s until the 1880s, and then once it was decommissioned, later on they made it a butter factory. But there is actual death there, there's hauntings, and our hosts were so wonderful, and they gave us the rundown of the history, and were just fantastic, and the investigation was very strange when we started, which was your live stream for the...
That was getting odd, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, because once I grabbed the cameras and Amy and Jared started to help film the actual episode of Paranormal Quest that we put out, nothing much actually happened. I mean, we had a couple of things at the end when I was alone in the cell, but the majority of the creepy activity and intelligent communication happened when we were all doing the live stream for the Haunted Horizons Facebook page.
Which we will put up. I
Yeah.
will do some work on that. We'll cover Kilmore in more depth. All of these places we'll cover in more depth when we
Yeah.
do an episode on them. So, what was your most outstanding kind of incident at Kilmore?
I would say it's probably a tie between hearing how intelligent the responses were during that Estes session that we did for your live stream, and at the very end of the investigation when I went to collect the equipment after the final abandonment, and the paranormal music box started to go off, and the infrared camera light that I had started to flicker and turn on and off unexplainably, which it's never done that before, and it hasn't done it since, to where it'll actually fully turn off by itself and then back on, like it has some sort of a short in it, but they're brand new lights, brand new batteries too. And then also, I would say the other strange thing was, while that was all going on, the ghost tube said church, which was very bizarre because the church was where the base camp was set up, right?
Yeah.
So, a lot of strange things at the very end of that investigation that I couldn't explain, but I mean, once I heard from the beginning of the investigation, once I heard about that Estes session and what the things that I said, how they correlated with your questions and what was going on, that was probably the best part of the night.
Yeah, because you weren't aware of what was going on, were you?
No, I was just
So
sitting there.
here we are saying, well, what was the best part of that? And you probably don't know.
The best part was probably the sweep of the spirit box sounded really good, and then I just started screaming out words that I heard. So.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, I really don't know what else happened. Play with me.
Jared's under the table to play.
Jared's under the table, guys.
I don't care.
Okay, Jared.
He doesn't want to play with you, Jared.
Oh
Do you like the big girls?
I'm moving the cat ball here.
They're awesome.
They're awesome. Oh, thank you. The big girls.
Jared, not so much.
Let me just say though, Dave did actually participate in part of that because they loaded us up with so many snacks and lollies and drinks that you actually did participate afterwards, didn't you? In Kilmore, with all that bag of lollies and
Oh, yeah.
They were
the
very
chips and-
kind,
yeah,
weren't they?
They were so kind.
They just had Halloween, so they had all these chips and sweets or lollies, whatever you want to call them,
and drinks.
and drinks. So we got loaded up, and that was enough to keep us going for probably
Trip back.
a year.
Yeah, that was great.
Which was really lovely of the ladies. So
We're still feeling the sugar buzz today.
we are. It's like, I think we were still eating some of them. Now, then we did. So what? That was Kilmore our first one. I can't remember.
No, our first
No.
one that we did actually was we started off at the Adelaide Jail,
Ah, yeah.
and then we went to Talem Town, and then Aradale, and then Kilmore, and then J Ward, and then back home, and then we did the Adelaide Arcade at a later date. And the zoo.
So you've fitted a lot in
Yes.
in 3.5 weeks. Adelaide Jail. I mean, obviously that's close to my heart because I've been there 20 years. And just for those who don't know the Adelaide Jail, who may be listening, it was built in 1841, shut in 1988. We did do 45 executions there, all by hanging, and the cemeteries are still there within the jail. Lots of other death as well. And it was our big jail there in our city, which shut down and then became a museum. Now, I've been investigating it for 20 years, and I thought, well, these guys do West Virginia Penitentiary, which is their heart is in that prison. So first place I had to take them was the Adelaide Jail. And how did you find it? Your first impression of the Adelaide Jail? Obviously, it's not as violent and as...
It's big.
Impactful as like West Virginia, Moundsville Penitentiary. But how did you find it? What was your first impression of it?
You want to go first, Dave?
Yeah, my first impression of it, from what I can remember, is I really loved the amount of history that was there, and the thing still that has stuck out the most to me about it was those that were executed there are still buried within the walls. I found that to be very... I don't even know. It's just something that we don't do, and that was the thing that stuck out the most to me was that.
So where do your executed prisoners go over there? Do they get buried in proper cemeteries?
Generally, I mean, at least for the one that we worked at, they had their own cemetery way out in the countryside.
Right.
Yeah, but there was a choice. I mean, you could either be buried in a cemetery that your family had chosen, so your family had the option to claim your body when you were executed, condemned to death. But if they didn't, there was a prison cemetery, but they weren't generally within the walls. The prison cemeteries were either next to or just a short distance away. So it is very bizarre to see that standard in Australia where you have to, when you are executed, you have to be buried on site within the jail, never being able to leave. Is just a very interesting practice, and it also is a good recipe for souls at unrest, because once they were brought there to be executed, they never were able to leave. They're still there. Their bodies are still there, and probably their souls are still there. But for me, I think the coolest part about the Adelaide Jail that kind of set it apart from the West Virginia Penitentiary and a lot of the other prisons that we've seen in America is their history is very much preserved. Not that America doesn't preserve its history, but not as tangibly, so to speak. So the areas where the hangings were performed is still there, and it's still set up. I mean, the only one that's not there is the traveling gallows, right, and the one that was out front in the early years. But, in the new building, you still have the gallows there that was used. And it's very surreal to stand there and not just think about what it would have looked like, but to stand there and see what it actually does look like. And to imagine the practices, because all the parts and pieces are there in front of you. It's just a really cool experience. And I think adds to the experience of the visit, not just with the paranormal, but historically.
Because it would have been sad also for the loved ones, because as you say, the loved ones had a choice to come and take their bodies. And I guess there's no closure for the loved ones by leaving them in our prisons, I guess. Because they wouldn't have been able to, while it was an open prison and working prison, they wouldn't have been able to visit their loved ones' bodies either, because they wouldn't have been allowed in the jail.
No.
Wow.
So, now, activity-wise, what do you remember of that? And I say this to them because they were suffering. They'd only been off the plane 48 hours?
Yeah, not quite even 48 hours, I don't think.
When we did our first investigation. So they were suffering badly from jet lag. So when I say, what do you remember of the activity there? What was your kind of memory of anything happening? Blank. I don't remember.
I do.
Don't remember anything, to be honest. I really don't. I'm sure once Ryan starts making me remember, then I'll remember. But
So the thing that I remember the most about it, and I think the Adelaide Jail is probably the most memorable investigation that I have from the trip here that I can actually remember the majority of it, is that and Aradale. But the Adelaide Jail I remember specifically, we had a very interesting Estes session in the new building. I know we had a very interesting session in the remand, because Dave saw like a shadowy figure go down the walkway. It was either a shadow or a mist went down the second tier of remand. And then we had responses on the spirit box that seemed to be saying his name over and over again while we were up there, like something wanted to talk to him. And I remember the storm that rolled through from the very beginning. As Allison, as you were doing the walkthrough, it was just that was the storm starting to roll through the area, and just the lightning that we were able to see and capture was amazing. It was just something that you don't get to experience, to be in such a haunted and historic building on your second night in Australia, and to experience a storm that beautiful was just amazing. And I think it really added to the activity and the experience.
Yeah.
yeah, that storm was really amazing. And I do remember now, we had some really cool activity in the hanging tower.
Yes, the hanging tower. We had the paranormal tripwire set up, and it was like something kept walking back and forth from the death cell to the gallows. And yeah, there was a lot of weird activity in there to end the night, because that was the last thing that we did. So yeah.
And we did the events there with the public as well. So, and I think we did 2 events. Out of those teams that we were working with, was there any outstanding activity you had during the events?
Don't point at me, because I don't remember.
It's all a blur.
Yeah, actually the last event was probably the most memorable activity, because in remand we seemed to make contact with an inmate who was probably incarcerated there, a prisoner who was there, who was saying some very inappropriate things about teenage boys and children.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just very bizarre and creepy, because I remember Dave started with the Estes when the strange things started to come through, and then he gave the headphones to me, and as I had the headphones, I started to hear very inappropriate things coming through, and in the moment you don't know how to react, because there's these very strange and sexual and inappropriate things coming through the headphones, and so it's almost comical as you're yelling them out, because you think how it may sound as it's coming out of your mouth, and it was just very, very strange. And
because I think all 3 teams that night had the same thing in the same place.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of getting into that inappropriate responses on the Estes.
It's very odd.
And I think that very same night you had that, we were getting inappropriate responses, but then we were getting footsteps on the second gantry in remand, and then the sensor lights suddenly went on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, in the museum,
Yeah.
which we've never had that. It's never gone off, has it?
No. So, well, it's gone off, but in 20 years, I think it's only gone off twice. So that was a bit bizarre at the jail. So the jail's been kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Tailem Town, I can't believe how quiet that was for you.
Tailem Town was unfortunately very quiet for us.
that we know of.
Yeah, we haven't had a chance to go through all of our footage or the abandonment or anything like that, but as far as personal experiences, that left a little bit to be desired, unfortunately, but, that might just go along with what we're going to talk about at the end of the podcast.
Yeah, let's.
It might. Now,
There may be a reason for it.
I will say that if Jason had been there, it would have been quite the interesting night with the number of bats that were flying around our heads while we were there at Tailem. Jason would have spent the entirety of the night in permanent army crawl mode. He would have never stood up the entire time he was there. So, and then Dave, you got attacked by a Christmas beetle, so that was exciting.
I did, yeah, we caught that on the camera, so I can't wait for you guys to see me have it out physically with a Christmas beetle. I wasn't...
And Mozzie's on top of that.
And Mozzie's on top of that, yeah. I wasn't in the best mood because of jet lag, so... Yeah, I just decided to have it out with a Christmas beetle.
It was a full-on boxing match on camera.
Funny to watch. So, Where were we? All right, so then we went to Victoria. We thought we'd show you a little bit over there. And it was Aradale next, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Probably one of the coolest, I would say most visually impressive investigations, because we were able to get some amazing footage around the asylum, Aradale Lunatic Asylum, and the clouds and the weather made it look so creepy.
Yeah, it was very aesthetically pleasing.
So Aradale, what is Aradale?
Aradale is in Ararat in Victoria, and it was the lunatic asylum. I put that in air quotes, as they called it back in that time. It was an asylum, and it reminds me very much of a place very close to home, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in West Virginia. And the histories between the two are very similar. People were sent there that should have never been sent to an asylum.
See, Kaga may have been to Aradale twice before, and we've had pretty much nothing, apart from that Estes in the matron's office, which was really weird.
Yeah.
So
we know that. We know that.
But it's like we said, it's like you with Taylor. You know, you can go to these big places and just get nothing.
Yeah.
And it's just the way it is some nights. This one was different for us, wasn't it?
It was. It was very strange.
And it was the same area, I think, that you were getting stuff as well.
Yes.
Yeah. The men's infirmary building was just off the charts with activity. And it was kind of bizarre how we came to investigate the men's infirmary, because we were never actually supposed to go there. So we were set to go to the morgue. Now, we were going in to investigate as the ghost tours were moving through and finishing up. And then once they finished up, we had access to the whole building, right between the six of us. It was you two, us two, and then Amy and Jared from Amy's Crypt were also there. And once the tours were done, we could have full reign of the building. Well, one of the areas that had still yet to move through with the tour was the morgue. So we had picked the morgue to go to first. And after we finished the interview with Di, she took us over there and said, now the tour is going through the morgue right now. So stand here in the men's infirmary building until the tour moves through, and you'll see them leave, and then you can go down. And we never made it to the morgue, because so much activity started happening around us in the infirmary that we just didn't leave. I mean, it was just the sound. It started with sounds, which we were able to debunk, but we set up a meter, the meter went off. We turned on the ghost tube started to say weird and bizarre things. We turned on the spirit box, and it started to cuss us out and say that it was angry, and just intelligent responses to almost everything that we asked. And yeah, that's one that I probably will remember for a long time, because it was just so bizarre how it happened. And the circumstances in which we ended up there were bizarre, because it was, if we hadn't have waited there, we might have missed out on that opportunity altogether.
Yeah, there was so much going on that I actually remembered it, which is a feat of its own self. But I remember walking down there with the guide, and she was absolutely terrified to go in there. And I think, as all of the guides at Aradale are, to go into that actual ward. And like Ryan said, we were supposed to go down to the morgue, and we started getting things happening. I was like, well, why don't we just set up here for a few minutes? And I'm glad that we did, because it popped off, for lack of better words.
Yeah, and I think you'll see when we release the episode from there, but probably one of the most bizarre things that stuck with me was a question that I had asked. So the ghost tube had said heaven, and it had said prayer or bless or something like that, and it was throwing out these very religious terms. But then the spirit box was saying angry, anger, and cussing us out, and it just felt to me like, someone was angry that they were still there. And the more I thought about it, the more I started to think, well, maybe they're mad because they felt that they should have gone to heaven and they didn't. And that's why whoever is there is so angry and they lash out, and people feel afraid, and people are attacked there physically by entities, whoever this is. And I thought, maybe they're just mad they didn't go to heaven when they thought they should have. So I said, are you mad because you felt like you should have ended up somewhere else? and the Mel meter went nuts, and the spirit box started to say very intelligent things, and it was just crazy. Really cool encounter.
Well, we had a lot with the flux, didn't we?
Yeah,
so
we
the
did.
yes/no. A
Yeah.
flux, for those who don't know, it has sensors on the side.
Yeah.
You can light up red, light up green.
We had.
That's not a really good way of describing it, is it? The brain's not
But that's
working.
actually basically how it
Basically,
works.
it's like, well, that's how it works.
So, yeah.
2 sensors, one on each side. If one is, what's the word? I can't.
Triggered?
Triggered. Thank you. Try that again, shall
Guys,
we?
we're so tired.
I am knackered, and I am, not thinking straight.
Right.
By the way, if anybody is watching this video, the video version, we do apologise because we look a bit dishevelled, no makeup, no face on. It's like we just crawled into the house from a trip away.
Who would have thought
Who
that?
would have thought? Got out the car, made a coffee, put the microphones on, and did a podcast.
I know.
Who would ever think of
Who
doing
would
that?
ever think that we would? How come these two look so fresh, though?
We don't.
You do. Look at them.
It's the bright window right here. It's taking years off with that bright pounding light. Yeah.
Whereas Kagami just looked like we probably
crap.
are. Yeah. So the brain's not working. But yeah, a flux is basically a triangular device that has 2 sensors on it, one on each side. And if anything goes past and triggers either side, one will light up red, the other will light up green. So you can kind of use it as a yes/no. But the flux went absolutely...
Oh,
I saw
yeah.
that flux do stuff that I've never seen it do before.
No.
So
It was acting. And it did stuff, because, I mean, I've had quite a lot of success with the flux, but it's doing
I
stuff
haven't.
that I have never seen before.
yeah,
Like the double beeping.
yeah.
I can't physically make it do that.
We
So I don't know
tried,
how
didn't
it
we?
did-
We
yeah.
went back and we tried to recreate
Just
that,
wouldn't do
what
it.
it was doing. We couldn't get it to do it. And then we had that figure at the end of the hallway.
Which we thought was Ryan coming in.
Yeah. Which it was Ryan later.
It was me later.
Yeah, but not at that point. And then all the EDI and stuff lit up as if there's the figure, but then it started coming towards us. So it was really, really bizarre. And that area I'd never investigated before, and I'm so glad I did, because it did change my mind on Aradale a bit more, because I said we were a little unsuccessful in the last 2 times. But
Yeah.
And I believe the others that were with us as well had a good experience in there.
Yeah. The guide, like you said, Di, she would not come in with us either. Refused to come in that building. Mm-hmm. And it's just, yeah. So Aradale was a success. Then Kilmore. And then we did J Ward.
Then we did J Ward.
Then you did J Ward. So J Ward. How would you explain J Ward?
J Ward actually is it's cool, and whenever we release the episodes from Aradale and J Ward on Paranormal Quest, they're going to be back to back, because J Ward, even though it started out as the Aradale Jail, it eventually became a section. It was a ward of Aradale, and it was for what they considered to be the criminally insane people that were criminals that were in jail, or maybe were in Aradale, that committed crimes against the staff, people that committed crimes against other patients, or even were too dangerous towards themselves. There were a lot of people that did harm to themselves that were sent to J Ward because they were just too dangerous to be housed in the asylum or in whatever jail they were in.
Now, we didn't get... Oh, we did do...
We had a very successful, extremely successful
Estes again.
Whilst playing table tennis,
Yeah.
as you do.
Yeah.
I don't
Because
see
that's
what's
something
wrong
we
with
haven't
that.
done before.
We haven't done that before. I don't know if I'm doing it again, but it was really cool.
Yeah.
I totally missed that.
Yeah, that was when we were doing our interview with the guide.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were upstairs doing the live stream. So we will put that together and put it out. If not, you can go and watch it in its entirety on the Haunted Horizons Facebook page, because it was all live streamed to Haunted Horizons. But how did you find J-Wall? Because we didn't do a lot this time.
Yes, I think the stories alone of J Ward are very, very interesting, because they were not shy about sharing details. When we interviewed Sandy, or Sandra,
Yeah.
she did an interview for us, and I am going to have to cut out like 35% of that interview because it is just too graphic for YouTube to put out there. Now maybe I'll put the whole interview together and do like a Patreon only version where people can listen to the stories in their entirety, but there's no way that those stories are going to be able to go on YouTube because they are so graphic and so detailed. And I think that made our investigation even more successful because we had the tools to sit back and ask the questions that we needed to ask. I remember when we were in the basement, in the kitchen, we were doing an Estes session that was not very successful. I remember Dave was laying in that bathtub in the bathroom down there and not saying a word for like 30 minutes. He didn't say anything. He didn't hear anything. But in the kitchen, I was having the Ovilus was saying a bunch of strange things, which I can't remember precisely what it said. Something about a wagon and a casket or a coffin or something. But then the Melmeter's REM function started to go off in one of the side storage rooms from the kitchen, and I followed it in there, and it was just intelligently going off on command again, and it lasted for a good long while, and then all of our batteries started to drain, and 2 separate batteries died unexplainably down there, and then we moved up to the West Wing and had a very clear hello from a man through the spirit box.
Yeah.
In the West Wing, so... and then after that, things kind of went quiet.
It did, yeah. We had a little bit of activity towards the end in the cell block with the others that were there. And, but yeah, that was really about it. That session in the basement that you had mainly was just, was pretty good.
Very weird.
So once we got back here, it was National Railway Museum.
Yes, it was.
Cag, you can give the history to that because you know it.
Do I?
Well, you do the tour, so
I do the tour.
I would hope you do know the history to that one, Cag.
Yeah, so the National Railway Museum...
I'd just like to hear you say
I
railway.
know you do, because I can't say railway without having to think about it. So thank you for that,
That's
for
all
giving
right,
me that
Cag.
tour.
That's okay.
So from now on, it's the NRM. It's actually built on the old goods shed, so it's the working part of the old Port Dock railway station. And there was a number of deaths, whether it will be accidents, murders, or suicides.
Safety wasn't a thing back then, was it?
We didn't have OH&S back in those days, so a lot of people died. In fact, wasn't it the first hour of you researching, you found 21 deaths?
In and around.
Yeah,
so...
just in the first hour, so the amount of people that would have died around there.
And to be honest, when we took the boys there, I thought completely back to front that they would get stuff without a doubt at Tailem Town, because that is one of our more active places. And they probably wouldn't get a massive amount at NRM, but it seemed to be the other way around, didn't it?
No, and it's weird because we've aged our tours. Our tours have got age groups on.
Yeah.
Due to the amount of activity that we have. So that's why the jail and the NRM are 15 plus with adults, and Z Ward and Tailem Town are 18 plus.
Yeah.
Because of the type of activity that we've experienced. Until these guys come over.
There's another story soon. So these guys that are sitting next to it. All right, so have you ever done a big locomotive railway museum type place before?
Nothing of that magnitude. We've done
The Wandle House.
We've done the Wandle House, which was very, very small scale compared to the NR.
Yeah. And it wasn't even really, actually. There was one train car that was there at the Wandle House, which was a railway hotel in Ohio. And so when they were traveling along the railroad, they would have these rooms they could stop off and stay in, and there was one caboose sitting outside that they would show as a display. And Dave went out and investigated that caboose and didn't really have much happen. But the NRM, I mean, is just warehouses full of trains that, and some of them were actually in operation or saw some horrific and terrible things. And that energy could still be trapped not only within that area, within the railway museum, but within the train cars and carriages themselves. And I think that was the most exciting part of that investigation, because not just the activity and the history, but to be on those train cars and look around and say, this is really, really cool. And yeah, we started the investigation, and the activity just started immediately. I mean, our first session we did with both of you on the, was it the carriage car?
It was
the luggage car.
Or the baggage.
Baggage car.
The baggage car. the
Carriage car.
The carriage car. It was the carriage car. It was where they put the horse and carriages. No, it was the luggage car where they put the luggages. The luggage.
The baggage.
The baggage. It's where I store all my emotional baggage. And it was active. No. And the meter was going off, and the flux was going off, and there were strange sounds we were hearing, and then we moved over and split up, and Dave, and at that point you were experiencing a migraine of your own, Allison.
Yeah, it was my turn to have to bail on that one, so...
Yeah, so Cag, you and Dave went to the dining car while I went by myself to the women's car. I got nothing at the women's carriage, but you guys got a lot in the dining car.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a lot, but what we did get was very strange. And while we were in there, we started hearing the windows rattle, and then the REM function on the meter went off, and Cag, you said that in all of the years you've been there, you've only heard those windows rattle one other time.
Yeah, and what was interesting, it was actually sounded like the glass that was rattling, but the glass is actually, you can't move the glass, and the windows are quite tight as well. I've only heard it once, and it was rattling that much. We actually thought we'd just experienced an earthquake. We hadn't, but it was still loud enough that we both looked at each other and went, "What was that?"
Yeah.
But didn't we hear a noise first?
We did hear like a knocking sound.
Then we had the rattling, and then your mail went off.
Yes.
And from there we moved over to what they call the brake car or the brake van, which is an area that you had told us was very active, and people felt very affected in that area. So we went in knowing that, but not expecting that, and we did an Estes session there, and Dave was listening to the spirit box, and Dave felt like he was touched on the arm, and Dave felt like there was someone in there with him, even though I was in the 144, which is the very next carriage up that's attached to the brake van. And I was just, the doors were open, and I was listening for the responses, and as Dave was feeling like someone was touching him, he was getting intelligent responses, and I said, "Are you trying to affect Dave?" And it said, "Mm-hmm." And then the REM pod in the 144 with me just started going nuts. And it didn't stop. I eventually just had to turn the REM pod off, which there was nothing that I knew of in there that would have interfered with it, because it had sat there for 20, 30 minutes without going off at all, and that REM pod had been set up on every session that we had done that night and had not gone off until that point. So,
yeah,
very strange.
Yeah, it was very strange, and there might be some people out there that would say, why would a train be haunted? But that was at one point the very most important way of travel and transportation, so it makes sense why there would be so much death and things like that around it.
Yeah.
And not only to mention that, but also the railway museum itself is set up like it's an actual railway station. And so it may also hold in that residual energy, because it looks as though you're going to have passengers on the platform getting ready to exit and enter the carriages at any point. And maybe that helps heighten the activity there. But it's just such a cool place, and I can't wait to put that episode together, because that was a lot of fun.
Cool. And then finally, we did a short one in the arcade, which actually was very interesting.
It was.
The Adelaide Arcade.
Adelaide, sorry.
Which is...
Finally, now being corrected by Cag.
Which is finally.
So finally, we did a little bit in the Adelaide Arcade. So, which is Cag?
Which is a beautiful arcade down in the city of Adelaide. I'm off one of our main shopping areas, and it was actually opened in December 1885. Beautiful, beautiful building with known hauntings.
Yeah. And we weren't going to do much. It was just going to be a vlog, wasn't it? While Cag did a tour, we were going to go off in the background. But the tea room was quite interesting.
It was, yeah. It was super interesting. And just the building itself, real quick, was just very ornate and very... I loved the architecture of that place. So it makes sense to me why, if you were somebody who did pass away there, if you would want to spend your time there, because it was just... It probably was the most beautiful place that we've been since we've been here. But yeah, the tea room, while we were down there, just absolutely, it was beyond what I was expecting to have happen down there.
And it was one of the places, it was the only place in the arcade where I remember it was Allison, Dave, and myself. Of course, Cag was taking the tour around, but we were constantly, and even Allison, you've been there so many times to the arcade, and we felt like we weren't alone down there. We kept walking around looking to see if there was someone else in the tea room with us, because we kept hearing noises, sounded like the doors were moving, and the flux just kept lighting up periodically at the perfect moments.
Yes.
And then after we did the session in night vision, we ended because the activity seemed to stop, and we still had to stay down there because we were locked out of the arcade and had to stay in the tea room. So you said, you know what? Why don't we do an Estes session, and I'll just record it on my phone and post it for the Patreons of Haunted Horizons for them to watch. And it was one of the creepiest Estes sessions that we did all the time here.
Yeah, you were answering things on there, and so was Dave. I think, did we put you on as well, Dave? We did, yeah.
For a little bit, yeah.
Between the two of you, it was like... But I think it was Ryan that was really coming out with those direct responses, even to how many of us are down here, and you came straight out without even a flinch. 3.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Very creepy.
Yeah. So that was interesting.
But that carried on during the tour.
Yes.
Because during the tour, we finished with a little investigation, little lockdown, down in the tea rooms. The lady said that she had felt something in front of her. Right in front of her was a flux that went off. She was so emotional afterwards. She felt as though there was something, maybe a small child.
Yeah. There's something going on down there that night. So that was kind of the roundup of the investigations that you've been doing since over here.
Small sneak peek.
Small sneak peek.
That was easy for you to say.
It wasn't, actually.
No.
Exhaustion. So, but really we need to talk about the main thing.
Oh.
These guys are going back.
There, thank goodness.
And are we glad?
I bet you're elated.
Oh,
We
I
are.
tell you.
The whole of Adelaide.
Do you know all those flags will be flying really high?
Yeah. They told us about this curse, the PQ curse that they have.
Yeah.
And what is this curse, Ryan, that you were telling us about? What do you believe? We didn't believe it.
No.
Well, it kind of just started off as a joke because we started to notice that, what is it? There's a scientific law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. I think that's Newton's law, right? Yeah. One of them. And I can't remember which law that is. But anyway, we kind of started to joke around that there was a Paranormal Quest curse because anytime we went anywhere, anything that could go wrong did go wrong, and then more went wrong. Even stuff that shouldn't go wrong went wrong. So Dave and I started to laugh and joke around and say we had this curse, this black storm cloud that followed Paranormal Quest around, and that actually quite literally manifested itself into black storm clouds above Adelaide today. This trip.
Did. They have their own weather pattern, don't they?
They do.
They create their own weather pattern when they come over. So they landed.
They landed,
and we picked them up.
We did.
And it was all downhill.
You got your list. Let's have a look. Hang on.
Let's get the list.
Let's just get a
Do you want me to read it to you because you won't be able to read my writing.
How many individual things on this list are there? I think we should start with that.
On those right. Look how bad it is. Do you want me to read it to you? Here. I know.
Hang on. That's the notes on the PQ
You tried.
curse.
We were on the road. How bad? I couldn't even. So we have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. We've got 20, and then there was one more that you came up with that I couldn't put on the list.
Borough one.
Oh, yeah, the borough.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that here in just a second. So what is that? 21 misfortunes and strange happenings
That's what we can remember.
that we can remember in 3.5 weeks.
That's almost one a day.
So they landed.
We did, and we didn't realize it at the time because 2 weeks later, 2 weeks after we landed, was when you took us to the Adelaide Zoo. So this would technically be the first thing on the list because it was the first thing that happened. We just didn't realize it until 2 weeks later. But the day that we landed, Cag's favorite animal at the zoo passed away.
Yeah, so for anybody that's been on the zoo tour, I used to point out a magpie called Magnus that used to talk to us, and I know one time it actually swore at the group. So we went to the zoo to have a wander around, and it was my birthday, actually.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And find out the cage was empty, so I asked, where's Magnus? It had died 2 weeks before the day these guys landed.
And that's not the only animal that died, but we'll get into that as we move
Yeah.
through it. So what else is on the list, Cag?
How about Talem Town? Because we did talk about Talem Town being quiet.
We did,
Indeed.
and that's very unusual.
Well, what happened in the shop area, in the restaurant there? What did we find in the doorway?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So, talking of animals dying, we found a little bat. They had walked in and out the door, and that's all they had to do, isn't it, Cag?
Yeah,
Walk in and out of something.
exactly.
Because there'll be another thing of that soon.
Yeah.
But just walk in and out, and when we walked in and out after them, there on the floor was a little bat that was dying.
It was dying. Yeah.
Poor thing.
I know.
We don't know how it got there. None of us felt like we stepped on anything. It
No.
just this dying bat showed up on the doorstep of the room that we were using for base camp.
Yeah.
And which is very bizarre because when we were going to Aradale, a dying raven showed up on their doorstep.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. With one eye.
A dying raven with one eye showed up on their doorstep of Aradale
That
the
very
we went.
day.
That
Yeah.
very day.
Yeah.
But luckily he lived.
He
Yeah.
did.
He lived, the bat did not,
Yes.
that we know of, so...
Yeah. And then when we went to Victoria, what happened in the car, Alison?
Well, my car that has always worked beautifully.
And you have it serviced so often,
I
it's just
have it
unbelievable.
serviced. Yep, it's up to date with servicing by proper people who look after Subaru cars. And as soon as they got in the car, the air conditioning clapped out.
And it was, what, like
And it was
30
really,
degrees?
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
only time we've had warm
I have
weather,
never used my sunroof in the whole time I've had my cars, but we had to have the sunroof open, windows down. Before we went to Victoria, though,
Yeah, before, because...
let's talk about when they came to my house. You brought them to my house,
did.
Gag. And we did some podcasts.
We did. We had a few issues.
We
didn't
did. I have never seen when you turn Windows on, Windows give you half a screen and then the other half a screen is missing. So I couldn't even turn it back off because the turn off button was in the half of the screen that was black.
Yeah.
So you only had half of the Windows logo thing there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Very
then
bizarre.
my speakers stopped working. And then as soon as they got in your car, Cag, and started off down the driveway, and I said to my husband, can you check my speakers? Boom, they were working again. And so was my computer.
Yeah.
Next.
Now, how about the cruise we went on?
Oh, the boat cruise.
The dolphin cruise.
Yes, the dolphin cruise.
Yeah.
I have never been down to Port Adelaide and not seen a dolphin.
In fact, the dolphins, he said, we've just been told the dolphins are by the bridge, and that's where we're heading now. We got to the bridge, there was nothing.
The dolphins were smart. They knew we were coming. They ran off. Because
I
they
don't
were
think
afraid
ran.
they were afraid we were going to touch the water.
They swam off, but...
They swam off, but
Well, And I think the reason we know why they swam off, because what happened 2 days after they went to the beach?
They went to the beach.
Yeah, it was one day swim. What, one day after, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the next day. So these guys get into the beach, or get onto the beach and actually go in the water.
The one thing we wanted to do while we were in Australia that we could not miss was to swim in the Gulf and see the beaches in Australia. And we convinced Cag to take us down there, and then
The next day,
thousands of dead fish wash up on shore.
On Semaphore Beach.
on Semaphore Beach.
Thousands of dead fish mysteriously wash up on shore.
But the biggest one was while we were in Victoria and we got word.
Oh, we got word of the massive storm that went through Adelaide. didn't
Yeah.
we?
And Shara, it is quite a scene there behind you. Just how many homes remain without power?
Yeah, so around 80,000 homes are currently without power, and we are hearing it could be until Tuesday until it's restored. We're here in Upper Sturt in Adelaide's Hills at the moment, and you can see behind me this house has been crushed by a tree. It follows last night's wild weather. There was nearly 500,000 lightning strikes and more than 100 kilometres per hour winds. So there's many homes like this in the area right now. Emergency services are door knocking to see who's home, and they're trying their best to go from house to house to see if everyone's okay.
But exactly where did it go through, Kay?
The cyclone, the one cyclone we had, actually went through my estate. my estate was devastated. In fact, how many days later? About 2 weeks later, we still can't walk on the pavements because they're full of trees.
You lost some roof tiles.
I lost roof tiles. A lot of the houses around there have actually still got damage to the roofs.
And it was just your estate for
It
the
was
cyclone
just
part. I
on
mean,
my
Adelaide got
estate.
hit with heavy rain and floods, but it was just
Just
your
my
estate that
estate.
got hit by the cyclone of all the areas in South Australia.
We couldn't get out. Well, actually, I didn't say we. My husband and son could not get out of the estate. We actually have 2 emergency bushfire gates that people can open to get out. But the problem is you have to have a 4x4. And they haven't got 4x4s.
No.
So they were struggling to get anywhere. So, no, they were stuck.
Luckily, everybody survived, though, I believe. Right?
Yeah.
Property didn't, but anyway. we'll go into that. Alison,
Yes,
thing as well.
what?
What happened to your website?
Oh my! Yeah, we've been out with the boys, came back, and the website completely gone down, and
Yeah, that had disappeared.
yeah, that
altogether.
had disappeared altogether.
Yeah, and then when we've looked at the weather forecast, it's going to be a nice sunny day. And what do we get?
Well, we've just come back from Borough,
Yeah,
which was going to be nice weather, which it was after we left. But it was this grey, rainy cloud that followed us nearly the whole way.
and also, Alison, this morning we're
Yeah.
going to go out for breakfast with them.
Oh,
We
we
talked
were
about
looking
this
forward to
breakfast,
that.
hadn't we?
Yeah.
We were so looking forward to this breakfast. We convinced the guys we were going to go there.
It's the final straw.
It was the final straw. This
The
is the straw
waffle-
that broke the camel's
The
back.
waffle ward in Blythe is to die for, and that's where we were looking forward in having breakfast. And we had a look in the morning, and what did you find?
Fine, doesn't open on the Tuesday anymore.
No, decided that Tuesday's not a good day to
No,
open.
because we've been on the Tuesday.
That was
before.
the final straw.
That was the final straw.
We can put up with cyclones.
Yeah,
We can put up with dead things.
exactly. Also, we found out that we all like to go op shopping, don't we?
Yes.
We do.
And most of the op shops on the way back had closed.
Yep.
There wasn't
Yep.
any sign of them.
No.
Yeah, we'd been not that
Yeah,
long
that's
ago.
right. Yeah.
We had the flock. They were fast asleep. We had the flock of crows in front of us.
The flock. You mean the flock?
I said the flock, didn't I?
You said flock.
Oh, flock.
The flock
I'm
of
so used
crows.
to doing the NRM. The flock of crows.
Yeah, it was like, oh, that reminds me. Yeah, we've had like tempest and storms, and then we had the plagues, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
We did. But also, don't forget that half of Borough was closed down.
Yeah.
Oh, the floods.
Yeah, the floods in Burra. We were supposed to go see all of the cool places. That was the point of visiting Burra. And you had told us about the brewery and these beautiful tunnels that were underneath of the brewery and the other places,
dugouts.
The dugouts and all of the places that you were most excited to show us were closed because they were flooded.
Yeah. So that was off the menu.
Yeah, and then we were doing the Adelaide, the second Adelaide Jail event. And so when we do the events, you guys had at CAG, I think CAG, you were the one that planned out the groups perfectly so that there'd be no interference. Every group would have their own area. You rotate, the groups rotated one way, and Amy's Crypt, Paranormal Quest, and Haunted Horizons rotated the other way. Well, Paranormal Quest, Dave and I started off in the activity room.
Did we, though?
We did not, because we got to the activity room and found a swarm of flying termites that were as thick as storm clouds had overtaken the entire activity room, making it uninvestigatable and uninhabitable.
Yes.
And so we had to move to, where did we move to?
Induction?
Yeah, we moved to the induction room.
And I went as the second team, and it was empty. there was about 3 dead ones on the floor, and that was about
There's
it.
nothing in there. So.
Now, Alison, have you ever seen anything like that there in 20 years?
I personally haven't seen anything like that. I've never had to vacate the room because of, like, massive clouds of termites, no.
The only time we've had either a bird or a bat nest in there, but we've never had a plague of anything.
No.
I just remember Ryan running out the door screaming for Karen, "Get the bug spray! Get the bug spray!"
Yeah, I mean it was overwhelming, and I'll actually send the video to Allison so
I can
for
put
those
it on here.
for those watching the video version, they can see exactly how infested the room was. Holy hell, Allison! We can't investigate in these conditions. What the hell? Get off me!
We told you the curse of activity and so the light's going to make them go nuts.
It wasn't when we got there.
Pure insanity.
Oh, and I forgot, when we went to go and investigate the Adelaide Arcade, we couldn't park anywhere near it, could we, Alison?
No, we couldn't. No.
Because they blocked off the road.
They had.
And because the problem was, the 2 lads were with Alison, I was by myself, and I'd got all the kits. And I had to park in a different car park to them, because I'd already realised what was going off. I couldn't get back to where they were. So
It was complete bedlam. And it was even late doing the tour because of it. It was
Absolute
chaos.
bedlam.
Absolute chaos.
And...
It just keeps going.
It just keeps going.
Just talking about plagues, though, we should have known when we asked these guys to come over what happened just before they should have arrived to start off with originally.
Oh, talking of plagues. Yeah, we have had plagues, haven't we?
We have had plague. Yeah.
Because their coming over was actually 2.5 years late.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They were 1 week. 1 week off getting on that plane in 2020. And then we all know what happened then.
See, I reckon we should have realised then what was going on.
That it was PQs. We should have known,
then.
That's right.
that the plague happened due to PQ's curse.
The PQ curse started a global pandemic.
Yes.
And then you had the fraud.
Oh, yeah.
And where did that come from?
America.
It wasn't actually an American fraud, but it was a phone call from
it was
America.
his card, American card, that had been frauded. And I got a call. It's been an interesting.
Are you ready for us to leave yet?
Yeah.
Oh, we're putting you on the plane tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're going to be there.
We're going to wait. You know how people just drop you off? No, we're going to wait until your plane...
We're going to make sure your plane is off the ground and gone.
We're going to stand there and watch you guys get on that plane, and we're going to keep an eye on it until it takes off, just to make sure. Because knowing our luck, there'll be some sort of delay, there'll be a plane fault or something, and you guys will be grounded for a bit.
Wouldn't surprise me.
And then at that point, if we see that their plane's grounded, I'm out of there. I'm so out of there.
We're on our own at that point.
Yeah, definitely. So that's been your visit, guys. We thought we'd just give a little overview of it and how exciting it's been. So anybody who is thinking of hosting Paranormal Quest,
Don't.
run. Run.
Run as fast as you can.
Save yourself.
But we are glutton for punishment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see them back again.
Maybe
So do you guys like to come back?
We would love to come back, and we are very grateful to you, Alison, for bringing us over here and for showing us what Australia has to offer, South Australia, Victoria, showing us the amazing events, hiring them, taking us to amazing places, and to CAG for hosting us at her house and for allowing us to destroy her house and both literally and figuratively. And
See, Dave couldn't come to my house because I have too many spiders.
Yeah.
You think there's one right there?
yeah, there's one right here to our right that I've been keeping an eye on, just waiting for Dave to jump and scream.
I usually, when Dave first came to the house, I had the blind. In fact, no, I had a. What did I have? I had a
Ouija
signage.
board. Yeah,
I had a
Ouija
Ouija board there, didn't I?
Yeah.
Just casually kind of placed.
Yeah.
I forgot to put it up today.
Well, I appreciate the sentiment and the effort of keeping them out of view for me.
And now it's a case of the going now.
They
so
go
we don't
now,
care
so we
anymore.
don't care.
Yeah, whatever it takes to scare us out of here quicker, right?
Yeah, look, we've got this huge, great black spider in there.
Yeah.
All right, you won't be coming in my house again.
But I did want to say thank you to the both of you for showing us a good time, and
And boy, did we show them a good time.
We know how to show somebody a good time.
We do.
You really did. You planned everything to a T. Everything we didn't even have to think about anything that we did while we were over here, and the two of you have just shown us what good friends and true friends really are, and we appreciate it.
Oh, thank
No,
you.
thank you.
We've not that you have time to think anyway, because you're too freaking tired.
Yes.
It's like, oh no, they had a good sleep last night. Let's go.
Get them out.
I've never been more tired than I am right now, and I feel like I've aged 40 years and 30
Well, no,
days.
we have. We even look at.
I know.
We were 20 years younger 3 weeks ago.
Exactly.
This has been an incredible experience coming over here that without the two of you, and you specifically, Allison, that Ryan and I never, ever would have dreamed to be able to do this, so thank you.
It was my pleasure. As I said, these guys definitely are worth it. So if you are listening and you're not following Paranormal Quest, why not? All right. These are the most genuine, most honest as well. They will never put anything on their videos, and it's why I've got all the time in the world for them. They're genuine, they're passionate, and yeah, I'd like to think we have become good friends over the time, and now they're going to have to put up with us, aren't they, Kag, when we go over next year?
Exactly.
Here we are.
And
We'll be hounding you.
even though you're allergic to cats, Allison, your home is open. Come
Use
to
your
our
words.
home? Come to our home and die, Alison. We have the biggest cat.
Biggest, fluffiest, most dangerous cat you've ever seen.
Our home is open to you, is what
Thank
I'm
you,
trying to
thank
say.
If you would like death, you're more than welcome. And we will be showing you come next year, next summer in America, winter here. We will be showing you some amazing places in America, hopefully.
It'd be great. It'd be good. My voice is going.
It'll be
great.
It'll be so
My voice is on. So, no, that's brilliant. I can't wait to go back over anyway. So we're already in the planning stage. As soon as they're on the plane tomorrow, we're going to be sitting planning.
Oh, well, I'll be like, oh, come on, guys, because I want to plan my trip.
I want to plan my trip next year. Go on, rack off. We need to know where we're going. So hopefully we'll have a lot of fun next year. But you're always welcome back as well. So.
Well, thank you.
All right. Well, we've been longer than we thought we would. We're only going to be, 30. I said to the guys, hey, 30 minutes. Let's do a 30-minute podcast roundup, and 1 hour later, here we are.
That's right.
Well, at least you have usable footage within an hour.
Do.
And I think it was the curse section that threw it over the top. That was just, it just kept going. It was like, and.
And if I turn this off and find we've got no audio, we know it was the curse.
We'll know what it was.
And you'll never hear this podcast.
And you'll never see us again.
I have a mine shaft down the bottom. Right, forgetting we've watched Wolf Creek 2 last night.
We did watch it. We've got ideas.
Alison introduced us to Australia's finest last night.
So... All right, guys, we're going to wind it up now. So thank you for listening yet again. And we will catch you on our next podcast. Unfortunately, this time without the boys.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. It's quite sad, really, that this is the last day. But...
I don't know.
No, yeah, true. I was trying to look really like a good host then, but all professional.
I can't be as professional as you are, though.
So happily, next week we'll not have the boys with us. Yay! We'll be back to Cake and Alley, and our homes, our pets, and our weather will be back to normal.
Yes.
Just like our podcast. We'll catch you then. Okay.
Bye.
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 We need to do that one more time. And let's start with that from the beginning. More energy. 3, 2.
Ozzy, Ozzy, Ozzy! Ozzy, Ozzy, Ozzy! Ozzy! Ozzy, Ozzy, Ozzy!
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Please remember to share, like, and subscribe to this podcast. The extended video version of these episodes are available for members of Spotify and Patreon. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and see the full investigation from these episodes on our YouTube channel. Details are in the About section of this podcast. Thank you from Cag and Ali for listening.